Hey everybody,
Hey everybody, Andrew Peterson here.
I'm Chris Wall.
Welcome to the live stream. Glad that you're here joining us. Are you glad?
I'm so glad to be here. I'm
We're
wearing
both
one of our
glad.
new shirts, so I have the new shirt thing happening.
Yeah, where you haven't washed it yet.
Yeah, my kids
Yeah.
were asking, Dad, what's fabric softener? This is a household doesn't use fabric softener. I said, this
Yes,
is
exactly.
fabric softener.
That's pretty cool.
This is a pretty cool one.
It's a good shirt. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm executive producer of the Wingfeather Saga animated series, if you don't know. And this fella here is the author.
Howdy, author and executive producer and voice of Oscar Nosferteep.
That's right.
Wait, am I on IMDb?
You are. Do you know that?
I didn't know that.
I was working on it this week.
That's so funny. I'm on IMDb. I'm a voice actor, y'all.
And very good.
That's ridiculous.
Season 2, if you don't know, is out now. Each Friday, a new episode drops. It's true. So tonight, we're going to be talking about episode 3, which came out last Friday, and spoilers and all kinds of fun stuff. But we're so excited to welcome Eva, who plays Merrily. If you've read the book series, book 2 introduces the Stranders of the East Bend. And Merrily Weaver and her terrible dad, Claxton Weaver, who's played by Will, are going to join us for a conversation. They're both from the UK, and so we did have to record this interview. It's not going to be live right here. We had to record it earlier just because of the time difference, but you're going to get to hear from them in a little bit.
They are great.
And we're going to be talking all about episode 3, so there will be spoilers. So if you have not seen episode 3, just know that. If you've read the books, you're good.
Yeah.
But then later in the episode, or later in the live stream, we're going to tease a clip from episode 4, which comes out this Friday. So
very exciting
stuff.
Yeah.
I heard from so many people, episode 3 was their favorite.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite. I love the epic moments of episode 1 and 2. They're really powerful. But it just has such a distinct vibe. It's the most distinct place that we've been in. Like, I really like Lipwood quite a lot. Inglesworthy Manor is really cool. But getting to as a kid, I dug a lot of holes for forts. So when they get to the burrows, it's just, man, it fires off for me big time.
Yeah. I remember I was always into digging holes, and the plan is always to build an underground fort.
Oh, yeah.
But it never happens.
Yeah.
You always get like 3 feet in, and you're like, digging's hard. Let's go do something else. Yeah. But yeah, that was one of the things that very much was when I was writing the story. I was just trying to tap into every little cool thing that I could imagine when I was a kid and explore it. And so there's the scene in episode 3 where they're walking through the tunnels. What do you call it? Side by something
little
shot?
side scroll.
Side scroll. That's right.
Yeah.
Where they're kind of, hunching through the tunnels and the roots are going past them. And it's like, there it is. That's the dream.
That is.
Yeah.
Now we know what it's like to be a potato.
I raises all kinds of questions about potatoes that we don't need to get into.
We also have a really cool thing, and that is, we teased it last week. There's Andrew with his iPad pencil. A thing called Collectibles. We talked about this last week, that we've had a lot of fans asking for ways they can kind of be a part of the show, kind of have a brick in the building, right? Some of you were investors with us. Others of you has paid it forward. And so this is another mechanism that's a way to support the show fundamentally, but also give you something that's really special. If you have ever gotten to see Andrew in concert, you may not know this, but he's a fantastic singer-songwriter. So yeah, I know for everybody reading the books right now, they're like, wait, what? But a lot of times in his concerts, kids will show up with books, and adults, and ask to sign the books, right? And it's a really cool moment. I have my signed copies over here from 2008 that you signed, and they're very special to me. What's a way that Andrew could do that in the show, and myself as well, if you want? I'm sure you want Andrew more, but what's a way that we could do something like that for you and your family? And so we've actually done a couple of these to test, and we actually have a couple photos of some families that have received these, and there's the digital version of these collectibles that can be printed. So there's one now that has a signature on it. If you want it, if you just want to get a frame and not even have our mugs all over it, that's fine too. But it's a distinct frame, and it shows a little registry that you own this frame. And
just to be clear, for people like me who don't understand how this stuff works, there's a limited number of frames in every episode, right?
Yep.
So each click of a frame is what you buy.
That's right.
So you go through and you scroll and you pick the scene that you like, and you go, that's the one I want, and it's the only one that we will ever sell.
That's right. And this is like getting a print from, or I have up on the shelf my Lord of the Rings printed film strips, right? From the film print. And
only this is like even more exclusive.
It's more tidy. It's more specific. And some people have asked about, are the NFTs, are they tradable? They're not. This is not for that market. But it is to make sure that you own it. And so there's some cool technology that makes sure it's yours. So tonight, we're going to get to show you this. And if you want, you can go to angel.com/wingfeather-scenes. They're showing you something here, and you can choose a scene. And Andrew has an iPad here, and he is going to do it. He's going to hit the, sign button, and we're going to sign some frames. And so that's kind of cool. So if you want to, if this is not your space, totally fine. We'll show it to you a little bit, and you can check it out. But it's a cool way to support the show. And you can scroll through there and find those. You do have to create an account. I was told by the team ahead of time. They're not. You don't have to be a guild member. Though we're so thankful for everybody that's decided to join the Wingfeather Guild and help support the show. You don't have to be a guild member, but you do have to set up an account. So just know that you're going to have to do a little name and password thing happen. And it is $60 for digital with a $30 promotion tonight. And if you want a physical copy, you can get different sizes, and they have the prices in there for medium and large, which you've seen the pictures of just now.
So just to be clear, you can buy the digital copy, but there's an option to order the framed printed version like the one in the picture that you saw.
You can keep a digital one, which will show up in your Angel Studios app, and there it is, and you'll see the sign button. But if you want the printed version, which is pretty cool, that's how that works. So. Yeah. Anyways, a lot of you have been inside of like a Disney store and seen these collectible prints, signed by Walt Disney or someone like that, right? Or Andrew Stanton.
Which is basically the same as Chris and
it's totally the same.
We're basically Walt Disney, right?
That's not obviously what I meant at all.
I know.
Anyways, you can do the Explore Frames button and find that, and it's a cool gift too. So if you want to get one to give to somebody, but that'll pop up here. Here, hit the refresh, see if anybody's in there. It'll pop up on his little iPad here.
Oh, cool. There's one.
There's a to sign.
Oh, awesome.
Hey, cool. There's one just now.
So can I say who it is?
Yeah. Well, I think you should be able to see this. Can we show the iPad here? Yeah. So the Bumgarners are asking for
they got this frame of Lily singing on the cliffs.
Yeah. So he's going to work on signing that right now.
Yep.
So throughout this evening, we're going to do this, and this will be kind of fun. He'll sign it as you go if you want to. During the live stream, you can get him to sign. It'll be super cool. He'll do as many as he can. Oh, there it is in real time. I'm watching you sign it. Dude, that's amazing. Power of technology. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And so we're going to do that throughout the evening. So if you want to support the show and pick up one of these frames, that'd be awesome. Thank you for doing that. All right, let's talk about what he keeps signing. I'm going to keep driving the show here. Episode 3. It was season 1 we talked about is kind of all in Glipwood, kind of one space. And season 2 we're just moving, right? We're in a Rockroach Den, we're in Fin Gap Falls, and then we're in a Strander camp. And so we have a little recap video. If you haven't seen the episode, let's kind of catch you up to speed, but here's a little recap video of some things that happened in episode 3 of season 2.
That dragon spoke to me last night.
If Nag was really nearby, we'd both be dead. Stranders. Stranders! My name is Claxton.
His pawn!
No one steals from me!
You're the Strander Chief now.
We're leaving, now.
You can take it to the burrows. Someone left here in a hurry.
Welcome to Dogtown.
All right, lots of important stuff happened in episode 3, but the introduction of Merrily, such an important character, and of course Claxton, Nurgabog no less. So lots to tell you. I have a little announcement at the end, so stay tuned for that, about Leslie Nichol, who plays Nurgabog. We have a special interview with her that's going to come out later this week. But for now, I want to introduce you to Eva Whitaker and Will Dorenzi. He is a talented voice actor doing lots of different amazing projects that you probably heard of. And Eva is an award-winning voice actor. She was in the movie Wolfwalkers from Cartoon Saloon. Some of you saw that. And when we audition these folks, it just they capture the voices so effortlessly. So we had a chance to sit down with them and ask about this episode 3, which they had seen and loved. It was really fun because they had responded. I sent it over early and they came back, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And so we get to have us sit down and chat. So check out this interview with Eva and Will, and we'll see you just after. Hey everybody, I am so glad to welcome Eva and Will. Eva plays Merrily in Wingfeather Saga Season 2. Welcome, good to have you. And Will plays Claxton. And we're so glad to have you, Will. Eva, where are you based? Where are you talking to us from?
I'm at home in Kildare in Ireland.
Ireland. Yes, your voice told exactly where you're from. All of us in the US. There it is. That's great. And Will, how about you?
I'm based in London. Yeah.
In London town. Very good.
Yeah.
That's so good. We have a lot of British actors on our show. It's kind of worked out that way. Of course, Kevin McNally, Leslie Nichol, who is also in this episode playing Nurgabog. She is delightful. She's actually good friends with Kevin, it turns out, because she's famous for being in Downton Abbey, and Kevin's wife is also in Downton, and so they know each other. When Kevin heard Leslie was in the show, I mean, he just had fun, going after her and teasing her about it. Well, episode 3, we've talked about season 1 of Wingfeather Saga is really kind of in one place. It's this little town of Blipwood on the edge of the Dark Sea of Darkness. And as we move to season 2, they're just on the run and they're just constantly moving forward. I have to tell you, one of the most exciting characters for me to introduce is the Stranders of the East Bend. For season 2, it was, I cannot wait to get to visit with these fine folks, wicked as they may be. And you both brought these characters to life brilliantly. Could not have been more delighted. As you know, there's this intimate relationship of actor to animator. And so what you set up, I just have to give you feedback. The animators they were like, oh, I want to animate that, right? Sometimes voices for characters that you're just like, yeah, it's fine, I got it. But you had such emotion and empathy. And so I want to start there, as you've both done different voice work over the years. Talk to us about how you get there. How do you find identifying with the character and creating it? And Eva, maybe start with you. As you were presented with Merrily, finding kind of who she is and how you wanted to bring her to life.
Yeah, well, Marley is such a cool character. I'm really excited for her to be introduced as well. I feel like the script was really well written, and as I read it, I kind of was able to get the idea that she's tough and she's fierce and she's a bit rough around the edges. But what I also like is kind of as we go on, we see a bit more layers to her, which I like. She's not all as threatening and as intimidating as she comes across, and there's kind of more to her than meets the eye, which I thought was really interesting about her.
It really is. And even through the course of the episode, we start to understand the familial connection. She's introduced as just this kind of wild character, a bit of almost a Robin Hood. She actually has a hood. By the way, so this joke from Incredibles, no capes. That's an old joke, actually. That's why the joke's in the movie, in The Incredibles, is because capes are a nightmare to animate. They're just the worst. And some of our crew over here off screen, they are agreeing. And so a hood is right there. It's so I got asked, please don't give us a hood. I'm like, Merrily's got to have a hood. It's just like the best. Have that like reveal and shadows and see her peeking through the brush. And it's only later that we learn that there's actually a connection, Will, to your character Claxton, who is I think she says, unfortunately, her father. This has a build up, not to spoil for the audience, but this builds up to a pretty epic conclusion by the end of the season. So everybody at home, there's more to come there. But talk to us about Claxton. He's obviously he's a wicked character. He's a thieving person, but finding him and his voice. Tell us about your work there.
So a bit like Eva, really. The writing just made it so easy to imagine. It really just jumped off. He really jumped off the page as this kind of rough, swamp-dwelling, kind of gruff, really outwardly tough person. And from there, like just that developing kind of a graveliness in the voice, and kind of not. Yeah, and also the fact that he's so powerful in those situations, he can really afford to, play around with how he's saying things loudly, quietly, drawing people into what he's doing. So yeah, it was really like amazing to have that writing in front of you and be able to go, I can see this immediatedly. Yeah.
And that's so fun because this is one of the great things about a show like ours, Wingfeather, is that you're adapting from a book, right? And I know I don't know, but whenever I watch a TV show or movie that's coming from a book, you can just tell because the writing's so much better, right? Because the writer some time ago took time to really work out a lot of prose. And so we get to kind of cherry pick as we're adapting, right? And we got to find ways to adapt that, but we can just go, ooh, yeah, we'll use that. Oh, I love that statement. I love how he talks about this way. And coming up with the Strander's own kind of language of whether that's coarse language or just kind of how they interact with each other. Speaking of language, Claxton has a different accent than his daughter Marilee. I don't know.
There's a lot of accents around, and you pick up. Yeah, you don't necessarily have the same accents as your parents. I stand by that.
Their relationship, like she probably has someone else that she's more deeply connected to.
Yeah, I definitely buy that.
Or like
maybe that's the prime embarrassment of him being her father, that he talks with this weird accent. But
why are you talking like that? Maybe she co-opted it, like she picked it up like later in life. It's like as part of a rebellious phase.
Yeah.
How can a character be rebellious when they're all villains?
Oh, good question.
What's that look like? Oh, goody two shoes. Like so for the audience at home that doesn't know this, you guys don't get to act together, unfortunately, but you have to form a chemistry. Often a person like myself becomes a connective tissue. I get to be in the sessions with each of you and try to help relay the telephone style information of like, here's how Eva performed this, here's how Will performed this, so we can all kind of make it all play. What we see is just this really beautiful, seamless performance between you. I'm curious for you, as far as the kinds of characters you've played, Eva, let's start with you, playing a villainous character who might be redeemed. I don't want to spoil anything, but who's definitely on a journey. This seems like some fresh territory for you, but tell us about kind of venturing into that space.
I found Marilee really interesting in that way that you're saying, because she didn't really strike me as villainous when I was reading it. I think she's very rough around the edges for sure, and she's a very tough and fierce character in herself. She makes a very strong first impression, especially with Kodo. But I think as like the scene goes on, even when she's just with her clan, like you can still see her like having fun, and dancing around and being a bit more lighthearted. And then as the series goes on, you see that there is more layers to her than what meets the eye, And I think that she does have a good heart and have good intent below her rough exterior.
So there's a scene, I literally just walked out of a review before coming to chat with you all, from episode 7 with Marilee. In which she's talking with Janner, and it alludes to that, right? It starts to get at there's a deeper longing for her, and we start to see there's this really lovely glance that she makes as they're going down into the burrow near the end of the episode, where it's this like, I might go with them. And if you remember, the guy at the cider stand asks, one for you? And she kind of, it's a mild embarrassment. No, of course not. It's this lovely, like, she kind of wanted it, right? She kind of
yeah. I think she kind of sees the strong family bond that they have, you know, and I think she does have a bit of longing for that.
Yeah, which we shall see where that goes. uh, Will, I think I talked to Kevin about this when we started this episode. He was so excited about the monologuing, the storytelling, right? And just, I think some of the hardest voice acting is those 2-word, 1-word response stuff in a scene. You're like, where am I? I don't know how to play this, right?
Yeah.
We meat on the bone, right? Where you get to have a little turn. There's this great scene where you're describing you're going to entertain us with these stories and it's going to be just amazing, and if it's not, I'm going to kill you, right?
Yeah.
Talk to us about these, obviously you said it in the script, but rooting your character in kind of longer sections like this, because it's a place that also can get a little tiresome, a little long on the ear, right? I, not to pick at it, but my kids just watched the Disney new version of Percy Jackson. So much talking, which they read the book, so they were like all excited, but I was like, there's just too much talking. In this, a fair amount of dialogue. I mean, a couple pages there, and made it come to life. Talk about kind of finding that. How do you dig into that and bring it to life?
So I think it's very much the same problem that like Claxton, the character, has of trying to tell a story and keep everyone engaged. It's quite, that ancient skill of like telling a story and keeping an audience there with you. And those longer sections, you're right, they can be a blessing because you can go, oh, there's something I can really get my teeth into here, and I can play around with it, and I can vary my tempo, my pitch, my volume, like all of those tools that I have in my toolkit. But at the same time, they can be really hard, because what you say, you don't want to lose people. But I think, finding just the joy of telling those stories and really getting stuck into what that character is trying to do by telling that story. I'm not just trying to keep you engaged. I'm also trying to make you understand that I'm a threat still, even though I'm playing around. Yeah.
There's a great moment later in the scene when he begins to lose the crowd. Right. To that point, like, the Sanders were like, actually, his story was better, right? And you're like, no. And there's a franticness, and it's real mild. I love how you play it because it's just a little subtle tip of like, there's a confidence early, that Eva walks up merrily and may we come near, and you're like, all right, come in. Where's my meat, right? And there's this steady confidence. There's this little pickup of panic late in the scene that the audience gets the like, oh, this might not go the way it would, right? I love how you played that. It's beautiful. Stranders. We talked about the Stranders and where we wanted to place them. I think we've all seen in stories, hives of villainy in Star Wars, and wanting to find out where could these folks be from. And here in the United States, obviously, you think about Louisiana Bayou, and kind of this like swampy, and it's been done, frankly. And we wanted to find instead in the coastal Florida area, there's another type of river people that we've embodied, that you guys have brought to life. And I'm curious, in your Ireland and London experience, are there spaces like these that you visited that you've met people of this kind that become a reference for you?
No.
Kind of distinct, right?
Yeah, it's a really, it's not something you find very much in the UK, I think. I can sort of, there's a kind of slight canal dwelling culture in some bits of sort of Oxfordshire, West Country, and that's partly where I drew my the accent for Claxton from. But yeah, it's a very different thing to what's happening, in the Wingfeather Saga.
Eva, for you, is it just completely foreign?
Yeah, the same goes for me. I feel like they seem like a very unique group in itself. I don't think there's anyone really similar.
Will, I know that you have a wide range of accents that you have at your. Is there one that is a favorite for you to pull out for characters?
That's a very good question. I do, I suppose. I don't really know if I'd call it an accent and more of a just sort of tone. But yeah, it's sort of part of what I'm doing here. That kind of like commanded, know what I'm doing, slightly villainous. Do you like me or do you fear me? Sort of thing. I think whenever I get to do something like that, regardless of what accent it is, I'm very happy.
That's great. Even for you, do you stay in your own, or do you play with? You like adapting accents?
I've been very lucky. Most I think I've only ever been acting in my own accent.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Kevin, when he approached us, he's got a British accent, obviously, and he said, "I want to play an American pirate. I want to go someplace else. I don't want to stay in British." And I was like, well, "Okay, what's that even sound like?" And that's where Poto ultimately kind of came out of, right? Leslie was just herself. She's just like, I'm doing what I do, at it. Let's talk a little bit about, without spoiling too much, but where we're going to go for the rest of the season. So we all got to see a sneak of this in the trailer, where Marilee shows up in a burrow, warning the family about what may be coming. So that gives us a hint about what's about to happen. Can't wait to see that. Are there other things, Eva, that you're excited for the fans to get to see as this season rolls on?
I'm really excited for Marilee to be introduced and for them to get to know her. Like you were saying there, like she does go and kind of give a warning to the family about what's to come. And I think that really shows that she does have good intent, although she doesn't really show it because she is very kind of threatening and intimidating towards the family. But I think as the series goes on, we do see that there's more layers to her, and I'm really excited for that.
So I don't know if you remember this, Eva, but right after that scene when she warns them, little Lily walks up to her and says, "Why are you helping us?" And she's just flustered and says, basically, "Because I'm a fool, I guess." And it's like faced with her own kind of, "I don't know why I'm helping you, honestly. I don't go.
Yeah.
She's definitely someone who's struggling to reconcile with her, how she's feeling about family,
Yeah.
seen it badly. I know we have a lot of kids who are going to identify with Marilee, who've grown up in abusive family relationships, right? And that's difficult.
Yeah.
So there's some stuff, not to spoil, but there's some stuff later where she's going to have to confront Claxton near the end of the season, and it's difficult. It's painful, even if it's a bad relationship, right? Like this one is. Will, not to talk too badly about your character, but dad. And even if he's not a good dad, he's still her dad. And so ultimately a decision to challenge him or even, push back on him is complicated. And I think a lot of kids and families that are watching the series are going to kind of resonate with her journey. So as much as it's kind of charming and comical, there's also a heartfelt thing that I'm excited for us to get to unpack, for families broken.
Yeah.
And you play it beautifully, Eva. We've gotten to hear it all and see it all on this end, but the audience hasn't seen it just yet. But you do a lovely job of kind of helping us through that. Will, as Claxton is faced with kind of the loss of his control, I think we can imagine that he probably steps back in and takes that control right back.
Yeah. He's not going to let it fly for long.
Each of the characters that becomes a clan leader has a pwn. That's the funny item, right? Why do you think Claxton has a little green fish? What do you think that's about?
I think it might be something really banal, like he just really likes that color, and he'd give you a really like, well, of course, I found it and it was mine. I fought a dragon for it, whatever. But I think he picked it up on the floor. Thought that's a nice color, and
I
That's
love
original.
that. That's a great description. We talked about designing their camp, that everything, if you look around the scene, folks at home in episode 3, everything is found. So there's a lot of mismatch. There's some very formal things in the woods that they would have snatched from people and then just brought to the woods, like, a rocking chair, a formal rocking chair in a camp, right? The very center of camp is actually the husk of an old ship, and the fire is kind of where the mast would be. And then Claxton, if you haven't looked at this, Claxton has this brilliant throne that Calmer ends up sitting on that has all these accoutrements and heads of animals and horns and probably some stuff that Merrily actually killed, and it's all arrayed there. Yeah, anyways, there's a lot to unpack about who he is and why he chose those things. The last thing for you, she's a hunter and pretty good with the blade. We're going to talk about this going forward, but she wears this little belt with these daggers in it. We had our red carpet premiere here in Nashville, and a lot of families and their kids came in costume. And I would say it was Lily, obviously, was probably the one we saw the most, but Merrily was right there, especially in season 2. They love Merrily, and they all would have the daggers, right? That was their
Her signature.
Her other signature is less cool. And I'm just gonna say, for families at home, we're not saying this should be a thing. She spits a lot. So this is a trope now. I can tell you, we're in the middle of storyboarding and animatics for season 3, and Merrily plays a significant part in season 3, and it just keeps coming up that the board artists keep drawing her spitting. So I would say, in setting up, getting rehearsed for season 3, you should go ahead and practice your spitting game, because that's going to be
That's gonna be some fun, Walla.
yeah, she's great. And then I have to tell you too, Will, for Claxton, one of the biggest challenges of that character and bringing him to life for us is this massive beard.
Yeah. When you were talking about capes earlier, I thought the beard can't have been much fun.
It ended up being like layers of noodles almost on his face. And I would get animation tests, and like this set of noodles would be moving and he'd be talking. And then this set was like fixed like a prop. It painful for a while there, but in its final, it's a glorious beard. He's probably a beard oil kind of guy. Right?
I don't think he's ever applied it, but I think he's probably got a very oily beard.
Yeah, just more like this spilled, I'll just wipe it.
Yeah,
in.
A bit of chicken, a bit of
People asked why he has a hat. That was when his character was revealed in the trailer. We put out there, why does Claxton have a hat? And my defense on that is because he's probably bald.
Yeah, that would be my answer.
Because he has his big beard.
Yeah, exactly. All the hair went here, and then it left here.
Yeah, it all fell down.
There was for a while, he's got a hole in his hat. So you can actually see in there. And there was a version that we had where you could see a bald pate there, the rest of season 2 is going to descend into a bit of darkness. It's interesting. Season 1 had a lot of challenges for the family as they set out on the run. And then now season 2, in season 1, they were encountering these fangs of Dang, these lizard creatures. And now in season 2, it's people like Claxton and others. Billy Boyd, of course, is playing the overseer of this. He's just an awful villain. And so our characters are going to have to go through some pretty bad things as we go from episode 3. But fans at home, we can't wait for you to see it all. Will, Eva, thank you so much for taking some time with us. And
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for being on the show. It was delightful. It was delightful auditioning and finding you both, and now what you've brought to life with these characters. It's really special. Glad to have you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Yeah,
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Merrily and Claxton.
So great.
Characters, great actors.
Yes, spot on.
And I remember we talked about the accent difference, and does that matter? Nope.
It really doesn't. It doesn't even cross my mind when I'm watching the show, because the voices match the character design and the characters so perfectly.
Yep.
It doesn't even matter. Yeah.
Okay, so the trio, of course, includes Nurgabog, and that kissing scene was one of my favorite scenes to imagine. Like, can we make this as nasty and awesome as possible? And it is.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
Leslie Nichol, we got to sit down with her and have a really cool conversation, which we are going to release inside of the Guild this week. So if you are a Guild member, thank you so much for supporting the show. But we have this really delightful interview that we did with Leslie that will show up this week. So keep your eyes there. And of course, Friday, we have a new episode coming, which we're going to tease out in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to jump into some Q&A. Simultaneously, Andrew has been signing. We can show it here. I think they can just do it. I don't think you have to.
But I want to.
Signing some stuff here. There we go. There's that one.
And here is
I love you.
the next one.
So
yeah,
we're talking about the cursive thing that you're practicing cursive.
Yeah, when I journal in my prayer journal, I've been for the last couple of years I've been practicing cursive. It slows me down a little bit, and I really love writing in cursive. And I'm using this fountain pen selection tool, and it makes my handwriting look neater than it's ever looked in my life. My teachers in high school would be so shocked.
That's awesome.
So there's one. There's another one.
That's great. Thank you, Neil.
Pretty cool. Yeah, thanks, Neil.
Appreciate your support.
Thanks to the Baumgartners. Yeah.
Awesome. So he's going to sign some additional ones as we go. There's some fresh ones in the queue there, right?
Yeah. Here we go.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, wait. I already did that one. There's one.
Neil's got quite a few in here.
Yeah, Neil's going crazy.
And Seth.
Nice.
Seth has been a big architect
That's
for this.
a great shot.
And,
look at that scene.
Yeah. All right, so I'll let you keep signing.
I'm going to work on this.
We're going to take your questions. So if you've got questions for us while he keeps signing, we will do our best to answer. Someone asked in the YouTube chat, I saw this, that do we have concept art for season 3, the Irish Prairies? And yes, we do. Some really cool stuff, which we'll show you later. We've mentioned this a couple times. Season 3 is on hold at the moment. We're finishing up season 2, of course, just about to deliver the very last episode, which comes to you later in May. And then our crew's taking a break while we look for all of you to celebrate season 2. And some of you are doing that through supporting us with the Guild. Some of you are getting some of these frames just now. There's all kinds of ways to help fund season 3 so we can put it back into full production. But the Ice Prairies is coming next. All right. Let's jump in with your questions. What's our first question there, Micah? What do we got going? Audrey, Guild member, thank you. What's the hardest thing to animate? Ooh, I wish I had Keith here right now. What's the hardest, or Ron? What's the hardest thing to animate?
Probably water, right? Fire and water.
Well, no, actually, because that ended up being 2D for us a lot. The hardest thing to animate, according to the team, I've heard them say this a few times, quadrupeds.
Oh.
Nugget, by far.
Wow.
Nugget, they were so sad about what happened in episode 2, but also not sad. I think the toothy cow in episode 1 was one of the hardest ones because he had all that weight too. It's kind of saggy and stuff. But quadrupeds are really hard to animate. So, yeah. Who knew, right? It didn't seem that hard to me, but I don't animate. So
I just like how you say quadrupeds.
That's a big word. All right, next question. Yeah, Octatext, I should just get Keith, just reach off and pull him in here. If you could meet any creature from Wingfeather, what would it be? If you could meet any creature from Wingfeather, what would it be? Fazzledove, because I think it's hilarious. You?
Gunky. You'd have to read the Creaturepedia to understand. The Gunky is the Creaturepedia creature that made me laugh the most when I was writing the entry.
What would the TV rating for season 2 be? Well, you mean like right now? What is it, Anna? It's still the same, which is TV 7 fantasy violence, and it's that thing. It's basically PG because then TV 14 is like PG 13, so it's still PG because there's fantasy violence is what they call that. So yeah, there it is. What else we got? Man, your signature looks so cool. I gotta practice my signature. Yeah, that's great. How long did it take to animate Marilee's cape? Okay, well, she had the hood, and you'll know. In that interview, I talked about her getting to have a hood and cape, whatever. The trade-off was I can only have it for that one scene, and then it's gone when she gets into the camp.
Oh, funny!
Because it is complicated. pops in and out and this whole thing. So, yeah. But yeah, for that one scene, she didn't move a whole lot, so it was not too bad. Andrew, as an author, what do your idea notebooks look like? How do you take notes of your ideas?
Notes of my ideas. I mainly had idea notebooks back when I was writing book 1, a little bit in book 2, but it's just a journal. I would write questions to myself. I remember writing each character, each character's name, and then underneath their name, I would write things like, what is their internal conflict? That's something that I kind of learned from you. Like, what is the external conflict, the internal conflict? What is the interpersonal conflict? Just to kind of think that stuff through. That's early on in the process. Like I was just getting my head around it. And then there were some maps that I drew. But a lot of it is me, like my journal is like a way of verbally processing the questions that I have. So a lot of times when I'm writing in the journal, it's like, what do I do next? Why is so-and-so acting this way? And how do I get them from this to this? And that's how my songwriting works too. Like it's just a kind of free flow, word association almost that helps me to then visualize what it is that I'm thinking.
That's cool.
The best answer that I got.
Huh. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
I love that. I had to tell you all, one of the questions that I thought would be popped right out the gate is, how athletic is Oscar in Retief? And the answer is very. If you missed it in episode 3, the man hurls himself over a stone wall in an alley-oop Indo thing. Did you see this moment? It's right when the Toothy Cow arrives. Oscar goes dashing off and does a full whoop and lands on his back, and there's a great sound effect for it and everything. You really have to watch Oscar. We have a lot of fun with him, finding ways to make him more athletic than he should be. And this is one of those. Yeah, it's a good bit. What's your next question? I've got some other ones I want to tell you about, but Sarah says, what was your favorite book to write? Was there one of them that was the favorite to write?
My favorite one to write was The Monster in the Hollows. Yeah, because I've told this a few times, but book 1 took me 5 years to write. It was this long process of trying to get my head around how you write a book. And book 2 was written under a really tight deadline. So it was just written in between concerts and, every spare chance I had at home, I was frantically writing. And I think you can kind of tell that I was frantically writing because of the pace of the book. Like it's basically one long chase scene. But I was so relieved when they finally get to the Green Hollows in book 3, spoiler, sorry, because they could just rest. And I kind of felt like I wanted to rest with them and to just get to know the family and get to know this new environment, this new culture without them being constantly on the run. And so I just really loved stretching out a little bit in Banrona. It was like one of my favorite, I don't know, the vibe of the town in Banrona and the dogs everywhere and the school, the Durgan Guild and all that kind of stuff. It felt like a fun thing to explore.
So a lot of you, it's interesting to think about what your favorite episodes are in season 1 and now in season 2. Some of you are plot driven people. Like you want things to be happening. And some of you are more atmosphere, environmental people. Like, how does it feel? What's the relationships like? And I want you to know we're cognizant of both. And as we're thinking about the story pacing and so forth, we want to give relaxed moments to just kind of be. A lot of people got really upset about episode 2 of season 1.
Of the game?
Why are they playing a game? We've got plot to get after. Yeah, but we have relationships to build too. We need to understand how they fit together before I put them and rip them apart, right? Or strain them. And so there's a definite rhythm. So season 2 has come off like a shot. Bam, bam, bam. And now you saw even episode 3 slows down just a little bit, right? And we're going to kind of start to settle in to what the choices and consequences are.
Yeah, it's moving from external conflict to more internal conflict at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that to me is where it really is interesting.
Yeah. And it is like an orchestra. It's like music that you got to build up to da-da-da and then let it breathe a little bit. And that's I think it's a good rhythm. So yeah. All right. What else you got? Some good questions. Gentlemen, have you any designs for the Green Hollows and the inhabitants yet? I keep imagining Vikings and Celts for some reason. We don't actually have any designs of Green Hollows yet.
Got to get through episode 3 first, or season 3.
Yeah, we've got the Ice Prairies and we've got a boat. Got a couple boats actually. and some sea dragons and all that stuff. But
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for any of us who've read the book, we have a mental picture, right, of what Ben Rono probably looks like. But that's season 4.
Can't wait.
Yeah. How do you audition for voice acting? Says Fire Trooper. At times we will open it up. Right now, of course, we have our full cast. Season 3, we will be casting some new characters, and so we'll open that up. A lot of times, our casting director is fantastic at like finding people in the weirdest places. Great talent that we need that has a particular ability. As you've seen just now with Will and Eva, I don't think we would have ever found them in that way, but he was able to help us get there. So, yeah. They think it should look like Scotland. Andrew and Chris, what is y'all's favorite, most looking forward to develop society culture in the story? Screen, Stranders, Hollow Folk, what culture? I'll say right away, because Strander culture was so interesting for me. Thinking about the relationships, that they have an honor code so that if things are broken, it matters. But also are thieving, cheating people. And I just really loved thinking about what is the moral system and what is good and bad, and how do they, and so that filled out. It's funny after all that thinking. It's brief moments that the family walking in. What do they see there? Right? Like, what are the people doing? Like, they're all like licking knives. That's like so over the top. Like, they actually are doing something. And I love the with an axe sitting there chopping a thing on top of a book and chops a book in half. Right? Like,
wait, does that happen?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Oh, it's great. It is. Oh, yeah, it's great.
I didn't know that was in there. Somehow,
the little choices of like what sort of things they're pushing back against and what they're into. They have these great hammocks that. So we're going to see those guys again later in the season. But
I can't wait to meet the Banrona people. That culture. Yeah, the Hollows folk, and that's kind of where books 3 and 4 kind of live, is once they're across the sea.
Once they're there, we kind of settle in.
So I can't wait to get there. Yeah,
it's great. I am looking forward to, in the future, Clovenfast. So much.
Oh, Clovenfast.
Yep. Ooh. Yep. Exactly. Hello, Andrew and Chris. When will the season 2 soundtrack come out? Oh my gosh! Thank you, Matthew, for asking. I was on a 3-hour thing with our sound engineer working on those tracks today, wow. So we are getting them all sorted out. There's a lot of wonderful themes here, particularly in this episode. I love this episode's
Buddy
music.
Green.
Oh my gosh. So Arcadian set a bed that was just fantastic. And we were like, what's the instrument we need to add here? Harmonica. It's the one I got super excited about. And so, hey, Ben, can we reach out to Buddy? Yeah. Buddy comes by, just lays it down.
If you don't know Buddy Green, he's one of my dearest friends in the world, and he's one of the best harmonica players in the world. Just a fantastic musician, great man, dear friend. Google Buddy Green on YouTube, and there's a video that will probably come up that went viral of him playing at Carnegie Hall, and he's playing the William Tell Overture on his harmonica, and it's mind-blowing. But he's so much more than that. But if you want to know kind of who he is, check that one out.
Just a kind soul, and he actually came back and gave us some more stuff, because I was like, give me more. It was so good. And I said, I just need you to give me the dirtiest, smarmiest stuff. He's like, oh yeah, I got
smarmy,
Wow. Just giving us the feeling of the Stranders, right? That makes you feel unsettled. And so anyways, that there was like so many different cues of that same piece. Mm-hmm. And like, on a soundtrack, I was like, well, we could probably do a couple of those or stitch them together, because they're just so delicious. Yeah. Soundtrack's coming really soon. It should be ready by summer. Are the collectible scenes limited? Says Omega Wingfeather. Yes, they are. So those frames are individual frames that become yours forever. So the ones that are issued here are yours.
And there are only as many frames as there are in the show.
Correct. Yep. Great question. And again, collectibles, as Andrew is signing away here, angel.com/wingfeather scenes. And you can go choose a scene and how you want it. If you want digital only or something else. But Andrew can sign tonight while we're doing this live stream. So here we go. Andrew, what does the water from the first well represent?
Doesn't represent anything. It is just water from the first well.
Amazing water.
That's like that. Not to push back too hard on it, but it as an author, there are different kinds of stories. And in this story, the water from the first well is meant to be the water from the first well in the world and ere we are, that the maker gave to the first kingdom as a kind of healing power. And it can mean something. It can thematically mean something, and you can it can help you understand some things, but it wasn't meant to represent anything other than what it is in the story, which is the kind of story that this is. So the cool thing is, like, that's how metaphors work. It's like, it's not an allegory. In an allegory, everything represents something else. And in this kind of story, it's not an allegory, but I am a Christian. And so there are certain themes and ideas that kind of are swimming around in my head that I will let you draw your conclusions there.
Yeah. And I think that having grown up in a time when bottled water became a thing in our lifetime, I remember as a kid, like, bottled water was like, what? Who's doing
I
that?
remember that too, yeah.
And now here it is.
Yeah.
You know that some of these water's better than other water. That's all there is to it. So I love the first well water. I think it's really fantastic. All right. I want to say a couple more things about we'll take more questions, so keep kicking them out there. But something else in episode 3 that you may not have caught. We really wanted to earn the moment of Kalmar bolting and Janner calling him a coward. Such a great moment in the book that came out of nowhere. Like, there's tension between them, but for him to hurl that accusation was like, wow, dude. And even here, it still popped out with a, like, golly. And then, of course, Kalmar turns to be quite heroic, right? And helping them get free of Claxton with his light hands. And, of course, I love the bit where Poto's encouraging him, man, you've gotten really good. And he is, no, leave that alone.
Man, I thought the animators did such a good job of showing what was going on inside their heads when Poto is telling the story. And you can see there's a scene where he says, I stole his bone, wee baby bird. And you can see Cal kind of look at his hand, and he's so enraptured by the story. But you also can kind of see, like, ooh, he's got some Poto Homer blood in his bones, and what is that gonna mean? It's great.
Season 1, you guys asked quite a bit about, hey, when are we going to tell some of the backstory and other lore, right? And I like pacing that stuff out, like letting it unfold at different times, right? Find a moment where, okay, now we can tell you a little more. So we had this fantastic walk and talk, right, as they leave their camp after the Toothy Cow arrives before they meet Merrily, where it was a great opportunity to tell a little bit more of the lore out of the first book, right? And so they're talking about Alistair Will, getting some of that information in there, right? And starting to fill out little bits. This is really what's fun about episodic television, is because we can say, let's add this information here, this information, but pace it out instead of just a big old prologue, give it to you all at once, right? And you won't remember it anyways because it's all gobbledygook, all coming at you.
Good questions tonight, y'all.
Yeah, I like this. Mr. Peterson, what was the inspiration for the people of the Green Hollows? We're not at the Green Hollows yet, but okay.
Let me think about that. I mean, let me think about that. I mean, it's Ireland. It's Northern Ireland, really. It's kind of a mashup between Sweden and Northern Ireland. Like, it's that northern kind of Norse thing with, like, just a little bit of the Irish rambunctiousness thrown in was the idea. Yeah.
These are not actually, sorry, I don't mean to be rude. That's not an ill-timed question. Because come May or June, we need to be in the writer's room for season 4.
Mm-hmm. Whoa.
As we do. So we typically spend May and June, that window, working on our next season, getting the writing put together. So season 4 is Green Hollows. So I guess it's not too far off from us. I think about the Green Hollows, I will say I have a little bit of an overlay of Israel in that this insulative little place where Nag the Nameless hasn't torn down, right? Because he ravaged all around there. You describe that in the book, so he's gone crazy, but he didn't get in Banrona. So it's like this safe space. I'm probably thinking of, like, World War Z, the defense fortress and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it is a safe place that they get to, that they're like, okay, now we can hang on.
There are no fangs here.
And it holds for a while, which makes it all the harder for their family arriving. I see Bob the Tomato in the background. Yes, Bob is always present in this room. So is Larry over there. There's so many characters in this room. All right, next question. If you could pick one character to have a conversation with, who would it be? Nurglebog.
Oh man, that's a good question. Let me think about this. I don't know. I think I just had conversations with all the characters while I was writing the book, so I don't know how to answer that.
You're regularly sitting with them for coffee. Are we going to see Foob Islands this season? If not, do y'all have concept? Oh, yes, we have concept, and oh yes, you are definitely going to see the Foob Islands.
See the Foobs.
In fact, that's not yet. Coming soon.
Yeah, it's great.
Another week, but yeah. And the fortress and all that business. Yeah, it's great. All right, this is a good one. Epic Early. Hello, Epic Early. Now, Epic Early folks. This changes every week, by the way. Andrew, how do you write fight scenes? We've talked about certain authors, like I know you and I have both read Stephen Lawhead, and his description of battle scenes is really good. Like you can understand the machination of it all. Yeah. When you think about fight scenes, so we had a really important fight scene here with Claxton and everybody around this fire. A lot of that was drawn from the book because you articulated pretty good of what was going to happen, how Tig was going to run by, and some of the stuff. Do you ever draw it out?
I don't know. These are good. These are hard questions, you guys. Partly because it was so long ago that I wrote these books.
Yeah.
The book I'm working on now, which is not a Wingfeather book, is not the kind of book that would have fight scenes in it. So I'm trying to remember how that would work.
How did you think that falls? Did you block that out? When you were writing the book, did you think about they're standing here?
I mean, I just kind of like told the story.
Okay.
I mean, I was writing it for an audience, a very specific audience, which was my children.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just imagining, how would I tell this to my kids? Like if I was sitting down around a campfire and I was going to tell them the story of how the Igabys made it across, or the Wingfeathers made it across Fin Gap Falls, that's what I tried to write down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So I didn't have to get into a lot of technicalities. It was like this happened and then this happened.
Yep.
And then this happened. The only time I remember it, and I don't, spoiler alert, book 4, the big battle at the end of book 4, I had to like actually map that one out because it was a complicated battle. There was certain things, like key things were happening at certain times. So that one was like hard to get my head around.
Yep.
But the rest of it is just like storytelling by a campfire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we have to take and kind of fully realize that. So the story team has to like block it out, right? We have to think about, let's have him here, he stands here, she's here, and then they move over here and climb this thing. It's a lot of blocking, honestly. That is probably the place that when we're building out the story from the scripts, we spend the most time. And we even do this actually for season 3. There's a significant battle, and there was a lot of whiteboarding of the battle scheme. He would stand here, they stand here, and even though it's well described in your book, we have to work out like then how do the characters interact with each other, especially when it's a large number of characters. That's definitely the harder one.
Wow.
Have we worked? I'm going to say it different, Jace Herrera. Have we worked on a Wolf King? Yes, but it won't be involved in this season. But yes, we have worked on that. Yep. Are we going to make a whistle harp? Hello, Isaac, Piano Kid. Are we going to make a whistle harp part of merchandise? We've talked about it quite a bit. It's obviously kind of a unique item. It's on our. There's so many cool things we'd love to make, and we have to kind of choose which one to push forward next. Whistle harp's on that list, but it just hasn't gone forward yet. Soon.
Yeah, if a working whistle harp existed in the world, I would be amazed.
Getting the tone right with a small instrument like that would be interesting, where it wouldn't sound plinky. Andrew, are you going to write more fantasy or fiction books? As a matter of fact, Sophie, yes.
Yes, I can't wait to do that.
Any timeline there yet?
I'm just too busy, y'all. It's just too much going on. The show. No, between touring and the Wingfeather stuff and Rabbit Room stuff, it's just been hard to find time. But I've carved out some time this summer to work on a new fiction book for young people that is 2 years late at the moment. So I'm cranking it out, and no big news about it I can't talk about what it's about, but I'm working on it.
If you're just tuning in, Andrew here is signing on his iPad Collectibles. It's a new thing we rolled out tonight. Angel.com/wingfeatherscenes. It's a way to support the show and take home a piece of memorabilia. You've seen these kind of exclusive prints in like Disney stores and other places. This is a similar idea where it's a Wingfeather specific print that you can get. Digital version and also a printed one if you want. But this becomes yours forever. So he's sitting here just cranking these out on the iPad, signing it tonight. So while we're here on this live stream, he's going to do it. As many as he can get knocked out for you. Pretty cool. He should just have AI do it. No Azog. That's rude.
AI.
Yeah. All right. What are the questions you guys have? Let's see. Are we going to test and release recipes from the show? Well, we've done some beside Maggot Loaf, and they're out there on the downloadables section of the Angel website. Will you make action figures for season 2? So we have the collectible ones behind us over here, which you guys have seen. This is so cool. By the way, a lot of you guys have bought these collectibles. They're action figures, but they're only semi-posable, so you can like make scenes with them. They're super cool. If you haven't seen them, I should get one. These are super cool. Let's get Lily. So they're these cool figures. We're gonna just pull it up right close to the camera. So this is a Lily. She's got her whistle harp and a crutch and everything. I leave mine in the box.
I bought 2 sets, one to play with and one to leave in the box.
So these are now available. They were just a full collection with Slarb, Nugget, and the boys. Now you can actually buy them separately. Yay! So if you have one character you want to get, those are now available as separate characters. They're on a little stand, and they're super cool. Action figures will be the next thing we want to get into. It's a whole process to do so, but that is something we're talking about. So thanks for asking. Yeah, and they are so beautiful. They really are. We need to do like a proper unboxing video. Are Pete's eyes different colors for a certain reason, or was he born that way? He was not born that way, and they are for a particular reason.
What reason might that be?
Read book 2.
Yeah, and it's in book 2. Mm-hmm. It'll become clear if it's not clear yet. Yeah.
Yep. Andrew, have you ever thought of doing a branch off of Wingfeather? Side story. I mean, Wingfeather Tales was kind of that, but
yeah, I have thought about that. I think that if there's something that the Ranger's Guide to Glipwood Forest was, I went back in time several hundred years and told the story of the first Rangers Guild in Glipwood, and that just crackled my brain. I had so much fun, like going back in time and kind of figuring out why there was a Miller's Bridge at Fin Gap Falls and like what the ruins were there and that kind of stuff. And so I'm very intrigued by the idea of going and telling a story from like 1,000 years earlier in the same world. But I've also thought about telling a story from 1,000 years later, like what happens epics after the end of book 4. I don't know. I've got lots of ideas kicking around in my head, and I just got to find time to do it. So.
Omega Wingfeather wants to know, will Pete get a scene in episode 4? We're going to show you a sneak peek of episode 4. It won't involve Pete, but that's all I'm going to say. Don't worry, Pete's coming back. Did you intend for Wingfeather Saga to be more of an allegory like Narnia, or not so much like Lord of the Rings?
Well, here's one of my soapboxes. Just to get super nerdy, Narnia was not an allegory. A lot of people make that assumption. Allegory is Pilgrim's Progress, where Christian is walking through the Slough of Despond and he meets the giant Despair, right? That's allegory. Allegory is this very one-to-one thing. The way Lewis described the Narnia books was that they are a supposal story. He may have coined that word, but he was just going, suppose there was another world called Narnia. How might God interact with that world? And suppose he showed up as a lion, and suppose these kids went through a portal. How might God? So he was like in the letter that C.S. Lewis wrote. This is years ago, so I might get it wrong, but he was answering this question. He was just like, no, Aslan doesn't represent Jesus. In the world of this story, he is Jesus, right? So that's how Narnia worked, right? It wasn't an allegory. And but between, really more on the nose, this is an overtly Christian story versus Lord of the Rings on the other end of the spectrum. The way A friend of mine described the Wingfeather books that I liked was when they said it isn't an overtly Christian story, it's a deeply Christian story. And I like that language. I just wanted to build a world and as a Christian, sit down and write the best story that I could, and then not shy away from things as they showed up in the story. Like there is a maker in the world, right? And if you are a Christian, it's not hard to sniff out the fact that I'm probably a Christian too, right? But it is a story first. And so yeah, I try to encourage people, just experience it as a story, just get lost in the story. And then, we were just talking about the no teachable moments thing. And I don't want to harp too hard on that. Like, I don't want to say there aren't teachable moments in the show or in the books for you around the dinner table, right? When your family is debriefing the show, when you're reading the story and you're unpacking what was going on in the story, that's all great. Inside the story, there's never going to be a moment where they go, now let us sit and talk about what we learned today, right? It's a real family that's on the run from real bad guys, and they got to figure this thing out. And I think it needs to work there first. And then after that, in the words of Flannery O'Connor, the rest of it is the Lord's business.
Yeah, and we were talking about this before the live stream here, but we watched Hoosiers, the old basketball movie, for the first time. And we absolutely, as a family, unpacked it.
Yeah,
right? Unpacked, like,
we
what
did
does
that all
mean?
the time. Yeah,
but they weren't making the story for us to unpack. They didn't come with a lesson guide, right?
Right.
I think you know the difference. Yeah. Another collectible getting signed, so cool. Grace Raptor is asking, I'm an author and my story is an allegory. I'm close to publishing it. Will you read it?
Man, I wish I could say yes, but I do not have time. I get sent stuff every now and then, and it makes me sad because you need somebody to read it. You need somebody who can help you with the book, but I can't be the guy. I'm just too busy. But find somebody that you know and trust in your community. Ideally, somebody who is going to tell you the truth, but is going to do it gently and kindly. That's what you need.
Yep, that's great. All right. Last couple questions, and we got to wrap this up tonight. You guys have been great. Thank you for engaging with us. I'll offer one more thing in season 3. There was a little bit, episode 3, there was a little thing where we had a dog show up around the campfire.
Oh, yeah.
And it was to keep it alive, that Lily, of course, is feeling this grief of losing Nugget, but also that she has this special relationship with dogs. As you know, if you read the books, that's going to show up much later. But her relationship with animals and dogs in particular is really special, and so that was a little special nugget that we threw in there. Haha.
Saw what you did there.
Sorry, didn't mean that. Said it came out, but there's lots of those throughout this episode. Episode 3 has a lot of little bits of things. Also, we didn't mention this interview with Will, but the cider man, the guy that you want some cider, and then off they go, was also Will playing that character.
Oh, that's Will?
Yeah,
I didn't know that either.
yeah.
I'm learning all
I forgot
kinds
to
of
mention
things.
that with him. Yeah. He's so talented, but yeah, it's him. All right. What do we got? Give me some last questions here. How did you, Chris and Andrew, get the idea for Cal imitating the florid sword? That little bit where he hops up on there. That's a great question. So this is one of those fun things we got to build out in the animated series that is not really written about in the books in the same way, which is the idea that the kids would know the florid sword exists, right? That if he's going and having all these exploits in Dugtown, that would get around. Kids talk, right? They would know there's this Kate fella, right? And we went so far as to make little posters, like wanted posters and things like that to kind of push that forward. And so aspirationally, of course, Cal would love to be the florid sword. Like, I mean, give me a fight. I love it. So that was kind of how that rooted out. And I think a lot of our time in the animated series is thinking about living in the world and what would it feel like to live in this moment and really go through it. Right. The tackle ball scene at the beginning, waking up in a foggy mist and hearing shouts and like what's going on and being disoriented. That scene, by the way, you should go back. Poto sleeps hard. Poto sleeps real hard. If you go back and hold that, the way the animators posed him in there, he's just kind of fully slumped over. It's the best. Also, loved how we got rid of Claxton for the episode, that he got some zonk powder and he's asleep on a hog. That hog makes a reappearance in episode 4. It's pretty awesome.
Isn't the Gambler that Oscar's writing in episode 1 a reuse from the Zibsy
game? Yeah, we're big on backlot people. Once we make a character or a bit, we try to keep it. And Omega Wingfeather, why does Lily know dog speak already? She doesn't know much. She's just got, like, if you can imagine, she's got some basic ideas of how to talk to dogs, like just little clicks and whistles and stuff. Like,
and she's a song maiden of Anira, so
Yeah.
it's like an uncanny gift that she has.
Yep, that she couldn't wield it just
Like
yet.
even the people in the Green Hollows are surprised that she can do it as well as she does.
All right, 2 questions to finish this out. By the way, Sophie, would I be able to make my own wing for the merch and sell it? Make it for yourself, please. I think it's delightful. I love seeing all these designs people are making for themselves, but selling it gets a little bumpy. Okay, yeah, we can't like tell you, yes, go make it and sell it. That's kind of a bum deal. But are you going to start another great series? Is it a one-off or is it a series?
Oh, the new book?
Yeah.
It's a one-off, but I do have a series that I want to write.
Okay. Do you have a design for Nag the Nameless yet? No, we don't. Yeah. Great question. All right. Last question. Here it is. What do we got? Hit me, Micah. Micah's our amazing live stream producer. Keeps us all on our toes here. Do we have one? Maybe. Are we holding? No, maybe not. Maybe that was all there are. There's no more questions in the universe.
No more questions?
I think you've signed everything.
Somebody asked, how does the pen work? It's an Apple pen, and it's my first time ever using it, and I love it so far.
Yep.
Like the thing keeps kind of hanging up.
Keep loading new
yeah.
stuff on here, but all right. Here's this one.
We lost
Did you guys? This is great. Have you thought? Anna asked. Hi, Anna. Have you thought about writing a book about Throne Warden Aramund? It's in a footnote in book 2, but the story sounds interesting.
Is it like Aramund the Wise or something like that? I think that's
guy,
what it was.
Yeah,
I remember Aramund. No, I haven't thought about writing a book about Aramund, but that's what I mean when I think, ooh, it would be fun to just like go tell stories from the world. It's almost like the heavy lifting of building the world is done, you know. And I'm like, wow, I kind of want to just go play in it now. So
okay, speed round. Ready? Speed round. Complete return. Right. Yes, very quickly. Will Ikaz be in the series someday?
Ooh,
they're not in their territory yet, though. I think they're
Ikaz are in. They're Skrian.
Are they Skrian?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah, but I'm sure they're Ikaz elsewhere. So maybe.
Will Borley be in season 3? Yep, but also in season 2. Have you thought about making a TRPG of Wingfeather when the final book is down and the final episode watched? Yes, absolutely, and we're actually working on that. How did it feel to be an Audible? What's your favorite accent you did, Andrew?
When
you did the read alouds?
Potos.
Any possibility of an I Survived kind of book during the Siege of Anira? It's a digital fairy.
Wait, what's an I Survived?
These I Survived books, like during the Siege of Anira, could you do something like that?
If there were 5 of me, then yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it mentions, Anna says, how Artham shone with Aramund's fire. There's a reference to it.
That's right.
Yeah. Thank you, Anna. Good job.
Mm.
How many seasons are you expecting in total? 7. So basically 2 per book as we go forward. I'd love to do something Wingfeather related for college animation capstone, but worried about copyright. No, don't do it for your capstone. Absolutely, you should. It'd be super fun. When will we see the Shoosters again? Don't know, but we have an idea. Actually, I think they're in season. Anyways, yes. I say that I don't know, and then I remember that we have something. Will there be a Wingfeather game? We already have a Roblox. It's awesome. You should go check it out. More to come, but we have a Roblox at least. We've been making other TV shows other than Wingfeather. Someday, yes, we have some ideas. Andrew, are you an artist or just a writer? He's both, everybody. Look, he's literally making art right now. If you've seen some of his trees, follow him on the socials, because the man draws trees. Mwah! They're amazing. All right, I'm finishing with my speed round. Will it be available on DVD one day? Yes, DVD and Blu-ray is being authored for season 2. It's going to be out this summer. And we already recorded the video commentary, which was really fun last time. So we watched the episodes with you, and we just tell some cool stories from making the show. Okay. All right.
Wow, how are you doing this?
That's all I got. I got to stop. We're just going to keep going all night. Guys, this has been an amazing live stream.
Yes, but thank you guys.
We're going to keep going. Next week, we have a very special guest who appears in episode 4. But let's talk about this. Episode 4 coming up. And every Tuesday, of course, we like to reveal what the new episode is titled. So I think we have that here. Do we have that graphic ready? Episode 4 coming out this Friday at 2 p.m. Central is The Roundish
Widow.
Where'd that name come from, by the way? I mean, it's clever and super delightful, but anything in particular?
I just thought it was funny.
Okay, good. And we have a cool drawing of it, too. And then we have an AR pin. It's in the store. It's so cool. if you're following us on Facebook, if you've not, please, y'all, right now, here's the go-to. Follow us on Facebook. Join the Facebook fan group. Super fun in there. Please follow us on YouTube. We want to keep adding subscribers there. Subscribe, like the videos. We want to keep growing that so we can find more people to welcome into the Wingfeather family. If you haven't, you can go to IMDb and to Rotten Tomatoes and offer reviews per episode even. So that's super fun. I like going in there and offering like, hey, this episode really did this well, or I didn't love this episode so much, or I thought this one was better, or whatever. Those reviews really matter. I mean, they really matter. Like we were just talking during the interview time that some of these scores and percentages matter in the industry. They really do. So thank you for going out. IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, both are great places to help
IMDb,
us.
which I'm apparently on.
He's super famous on there.
Well,
But please do that, would you? It'd be super awesome.
Hey, thanks for doing the
collectibles.
collectibles. That was so fun. Yeah, I really am grateful. It's a fun way to support the show.
And everybody that joins the guild, you are supporting the show. To be clear, when you sign up, angel.com/Wingfeather Guild, you're joining the Wingfeather Guild, and your support monthly helps us to make season 3. Okay, so that it is a direct connection, and thank you for doing that. Mm-hmm. Next Tuesday, we're going to have another special guest, which is a character that has not been announced in most places that shows up in episode 4.
Oh,
yeah,
exciting.
Exactly.
Yes.
So to end our time this evening, though, we're going to show you a sneak peek from upcoming episode 4.
Yay.
And then we will see you again next week. Hope
Thanks,
you enjoy
y'all.
it. See ya.
See ya.
Shouldn't Grandpa and Mr. Retit be back?
Don't you worry about those two. They've seen enough scrapes for 100 lifetimes. They'll outwit, outthink, and outfight any peril in their path. No danger's too big for them.
Ouch! I'd appreciate it if you'd pay at least enough attention not to burn me biscuits.
You ceased marching without warning.
Because I hit a wall. What are you looking at?
Footprints. Our footprints. You've led us circular.
Well, I ain't been down here for 30 years. Besides, you're the one who said you knew Dugtown like the back of your hand.
Not from underneath.
Tell me about this friend of yours with me.
Oh, his pies are utterly scrumptious.
His pies? But do you trust the man?
If you'd tasted his pies, you'd trust him too. Another dead end?
Quiet, you old fool. This is the place.